Welcome to my guide on creating TRP3 extended items. This guide was created during the pre-patch of Dragonflight. The current version of Total RP3 I am using is 2.4.0 and the current version of Total RP3 Extended I am using is 1.5.4. Let's get started. I developed a love of creating items only recently and have received a lot of positive feedback on the items that I have made. However, the number one thing I hear is, I wish I knew how to do that. It is my hope that this video will be helpful to those who wish to create something special. In this video, we will cover the following information: what a TRP3 object is, how TRP3 items function, using workflows, creating cutscenes. We will then combine all of these concepts into an item that you can create with me. What is a TRP3 item? A TRP3 item can mean many things. It's an object that has defined attributes. It can have instructions and contain other objects. It can be a bag, a book, a ring, a hat, or anything else. Anything that has ever been in your character's bag is an item. They're all the same shell, but what makes them unique is what they do. Remember when I said we were going to create an item together? Well, we're going to create a magic hat. You will be able to reach into the hat and pull something out of it. This magic hat will use objects, inner objects, workflows, delays, and conditions. Before we start on the item, let's talk about what those are. We went over what an object is already. An inner object is just an object inside of another object. It's the pages inside of the book. Cutscenes are also inner objects. When an item does something, it is usually doing that something with an inner object. Workflows are the instructions that items follow to do whatever it is they're supposed to do. For example, when you use a book item, that action executes a workflow to view the inner object, which is a document. Workflows are very powerful and can do many things. There are three categories of elements within a workflow: effects, conditions, and delays. Effects are what you want to do. Condition elements determine whether or not the elements below it can run. Delays simply pause the workflow for a set period of time, optionally with a cast bar animation. Now that we know what an item is, it's time to make one. Not all items are complex enough to need some kind of plan, but I have found that mapping out my item ahead of time is useful. This allows me to brainstorm what I want to do, to pinpoint questions I may have before I get started, and to smoothly work with the interface in-game. I like to use mind mapping software like Xmind, but you can use anything, even just a piece of paper. Let's go through this outline together. Starting at the top, we're adding a delay in the form of a cast bar. This makes the item feel like it has weight. It's optional and aesthetic in nature, but I like it. Next is the variable dynamic value with some attributes. This is just a random number generator that will pick a random number between 1 and 6 and assign that number to the variable name rando item. Next, we destroy any items from the hat that might exist in the user's bags. This helps maintain the illusion that the user has pulled one thing out of the hat. It also prevents this item from cluttering up the user's bag. Next are the elements that add all 6 items, however, they are conditioned to only run if the rando item variable is a certain number. This means that we generate the number first, then generate only the item that corresponds with that number. Pop quiz: did you spot the on-use effect that the rabbit has? If you said, he'll either escape or explode, then you're correct. I think adding small things like that to items can make them more fun. Now let's take a look at the item in game and see it in action. Here's the item from a high-level view. As you can see, we have our magic hat and the 6 inner objects. Let's go into the magical hat and see what it looks like. This page is pretty straightforward. It describes what you see when you hover over the hat, as well as what it sounds like when it's picked up and what other basic attributes it has. It is important to note that the hat is marked as usable. This is a very important attribute to have selected, as the item would not function as we want without that. On the Workflows tab, we see the same types of elements that we saw in our outline. There's a casting delay, the random number generator, the destruction of clutter, and the generation of the items under conditions. I was able to set those conditions by control-clicking the element, like so. The inner objects listed here should be familiar by now. These are all the items that are called by our workflow. Let's take a closer look at the rabbit. You will notice that the rabbit object looks just like the previous screen. It can have its own workflows and inner objects. The Workflows tab looks similar to the hat. We generate another random number, this time between 1 and 2, and start a cutscene based on whichever number the variable ends up being. One element that is here that was not on our outline is the Destroy Item element, which removes the rabbit. This makes sense, since the rabbit has either escaped or exploded. The inner objects of the rabbit contain our cutscenes. If we go into one of these cutscenes, you can see the different elements of them. This cutscene only contains one step, but it illustrates all of the components of the cutscene. I found the background image for both of these cutscenes by browsing the image section of TRP3 using my own profile. I got the rabbit's NPC ID number from Wowhead. Thanks for watching my guide. I hope that you found it brief, informative, and helpful. If you created your own item using this guide, I'd love to hear about it.